Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Adrian Dix. I'm BC's Minister of Health. I'll be your MC today. I want to recognize that we're gathered on the territories of the Katzie, the Kwantlen, the Coquitlam, the Kakite, and the Semiahmoo First Nations, and the Tsawwassen First Nations, I should say, on the treaty lands of the Tsawwassen First Nations, and home to the Surrey Delta Métis Association. We're honored to be here on their lands today. I want to give you a sense of the run and show. Hey, everybody, nice to see you all. I want to welcome our guest speakers. You're going to hear from Premier David Eby. You're going to hear from the MLA for Surrey Green Timbers, of course, the Minister of Education, Rachna Singh. You're going to hear from Dr. Victoria Lee, the President and CEO of Fraser Health. And finally, our closer. You're going to hear from Jackie Sim, a patient at Surrey Memorial Hospital and in the community who's currently receiving renal services in the community. It's so great to have you here, Jackie, and I think everyone's going to look forward to hearing from you as well. I wanted to note that we're also joined by Minister Bruce Ralston, the MLA for Surrey Whalley. We're also joined by Gary Begg, from Surrey Guildford, by Mike Starchuk from Surrey Cloverdale, and of course, Minister Jagrup Brar is here to my left. It's good to see all of you. I also want to acknowledge from our friends from the Surrey Hospital Foundation who are here, Nicole Robson, Maria Faccio, Martin Van Riesen, and Dr. Randeep Gill. I want to thank them for all their efforts, support of this project and so many more. And they're right over there. Good to see you, Martin. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all. And so today we're here to talk about a very specific action that will expand healthcare services for people in Surrey. Everybody knows, no more than all of the extraordinary healthcare workers here know that this city is growing and it's growing fast. From 2020, in 2022-23, Surrey's population grew at a rate of 3.8%, an average of over 2,000 more people each month. And the population will continue to increase over the years. That's why we're taking action to make sure services are in place for people. You know, it was about a year ago, and I met with many healthcare workers, health sciences professionals, nurses, and doctors here at Surrey Memorial Hospital about ways to enhance care. And we laid out and worked together on 30 necessary, high-priority items. I want to express my thanks to all of the healthcare workers, all of the healthcare professionals who work on this site, who do extraordinary work every day. We focus together on making patient care the focus of the work. That quality, timely patient care is at the core of what we're trying to do and improve on. And I want to thank everyone who's shared their experiences with me. And with our healthcare teams, our healthcare leaders, such as Dr. Lee, over the past year in particular, but obviously throughout the period of the pandemic and before. And with that in mind, we've got some big and important news today. And with that in mind, I want to welcome Premier David Eby to the podium.
Thanks, Adrian. It's great to be here today at Surrey Memorial Hospital. It's great to see so many hardworking healthcare professionals. Those of you at home can't see, but behind the cameras, a bunch of folks who help make the hospital run here and support patients every day are here, and I wanted to thank them for all of their amazing work for the people of Surrey and the broader area. It's great to join you for today's announcement. As you heard from the Health Minister, Surrey is an amazing place, and it is growing really quickly. Surrey and the entire south of the Fraser area deserves the equal access to health care that people enjoy on the other side of the Fraser. For far too long, the City of Surrey was neglected in key capital investments from government, and not just around healthcare, where the hospital was promised again and again and again, and the land was sold, but around education, when schools were desperately needed and weren't built. In the last 4 years of the previous government, only one school expansion was done in 4 years in the City of Surrey. And I'll say this before I get into the announcement, but the track record of Kevin Falcon, who delivered a speech in the legislature about how proud he was to have sold the land, it was met with a standing ovation from John Rustad, about the systematic neglect of the city of Surrey has led us to this place. You'll hear them saying it's expensive to build the healthcare capacity that we need south of the Fraser here. Yeah, it's expensive. Things cost more money now. It would have been cheaper to do these things earlier, but they weren't done, and we have to do them now. We have to build the schools. We have to build the patient tower here at Surrey Memorial. We have to build the new hospital in Surrey. And we're building a new medical school at SFU Surrey as well to train those healthcare professionals to ensure that we're able to staff these important and cutting-edge facilities. That is why I am so excited to share with you another announcement today about how we're expanding care and responding to the feedback we've heard from the healthcare professionals here at Surrey Memorial about what they need to make sure that they're serving the people of Surrey consistently, so the people of Surrey get the care that they need. Today I'm here to announce that the business plan has been approved and work is underway on a new standalone kidney care unit at Surrey Memorial Hospital. This means that an additional 21 dialysis stations are going to be added to Surrey Memorial Hospital, bringing the total to 60 in a standalone facility, able to provide support for people who need that kind of care to ensure a healthy life for themselves right here in Surrey. This is good news for people facing the hardship of kidney disease that need this support regularly. It means less waiting time. It means more opportunities for treatment. And this builds on the work we've already been doing to support Surrey Memorial Hospital while we build the desperately needed capital investments, the new hospital, the patient tower here. And the good news is that we expect to be shovels in the ground on this project in August so that we can be delivering care as soon as possible. We are making the largest healthcare capital investment south of Fraser in BC history, and we're doing it together. We're building more hospitals, we're building more clinics, cancer care, and care homes. We've added 700 family doctors across the province, 6,300 plus nurses. We've matched through our new Healthcare Connect system, 6,700 people with family doctors, 300,000 since we brought in the new agreement with family doctors. We know we've got more work to do, but we are committed to doing that work, and we're going to do it in partnership with you, the hard-working healthcare professionals, as well as the people of Surrey and the people of British Columbia. So thanks very much for joining us for this announcement. I'm going to turn it back to the Health Minister.
This is great news, Premier. Thank you very much. And want to also acknowledge City Councillor Pardeep Kunar is here, and MLA Eleanor Sturko as well. Want to welcome them as well. This is truly exciting news. The estimated capital cost for this project is $85 million, with $84 million funded by the province, an additional $1 million supported by the Surrey Hospitals Foundation, and we want to thank them very much for their contribution. Renal care is fundamentally important for people in this community, and frequently chronic care doesn't get the same level of priority as other care in terms of supporting healthcare initiatives, so I very much appreciate the support of the foundation in this work that we're doing. Pre-construction activities have been underway for some time, and the construction is expected to begin in August. It's located on the northwestern corner of the hospital campus. You'll see it. It used to be a parking lot there, and the new standalone unit will be open next year in 2025. As Premier Eby has mentioned, the unit will feature state-of-the-art equipment and will expand the hospital's capacity to treat patients with kidney disease by adding 21 new renal services beds, bringing the total to 60. It will operate 7 days a week and will complement existing in-hospital renal units. In addition to supporting patients in the Surrey community, the renal unit at SMH functions as one of the 3 regional hubs that supports patients in communities across the region. These hubs are part of Fraser Health's regional renal strategy to provide a better experience for renal patients and their families. The new unit is particularly important, as we know that renal issues are one of the leading health issues in Surrey. Already, patients sometimes need to travel to other communities to get renal services. So there's a real need to build capacity now and for generations to come. So this is extremely big news for the people of Surrey today, a very significant capital project that will be serving patients in 2025. As I mentioned, last year's work started on a 30-point action plan for health services at Surrey Memorial Hospital. I expect to be reporting on other elements of it soon. But as you know, just over there, the renal center is just over there. Just over there will be the new acute care tower at Surrey Memorial Hospital. And I'll have more to say about updates on all of these projects next week. In addition, as you know, we need healthcare workers, we need healthcare professionals, we need doctors and nurses and health sciences professionals and healthcare workers. And that's why it's so exciting that we're building a new medical school at SFU in Surrey, the first one in Western Canada in over half a century. And these are unprecedented investments now and into the future. A second hospital in Surrey, a new tower on this site, this renal unit, which is an important care facility right now for the people of Surrey and is being built right now in Surrey. So all of that is, I think, demonstrates our commitment to this community and the commitment of the people who serve this community in healthcare to the people of the community, because these proposals, these ideas were the result of the work of patients in the community, of the foundation, of healthcare workers, and of healthcare professionals here. Joining us now to say a few words is the MLA for Surrey Memorial Hospital and much else in Surrey Green Timbers, Rachna Singh.
Thank you so much, Minister Dix, and thank you, Premier, for this exciting announcement. I'm humbly joining you from the shared territories of Kwantlen, Ketsi, Semiahmoo, and Swasan First Nations. We have already heard from the Premier and the Minister Dix that how fast our community of Surrey is growing. And we hear, all my Surrey MLAs, I'm joined by many of them here, all of us hear this from the people in the community. With an increasing population, we are also seeing people with more diverse and complex healthcare needs. And I'm really proud of our government for taking immediate action to ensure that Surrey has the capacity to meet those needs now and into the future. This new renal facility is the reflection of our commitment to the community. And this center will not only provide advanced medical care, but will also offer hope and support to patients and their families. We all have heard so many stories from so many patients of all the wait times that they have had to endure for themselves and for their family members. So for me personally, I've had such a personal connection with Surrey Memorial, have an elderly father who has gone through the treatment. So this is very personal for me, and really I'm very thankful to Minister Dix and to our government to investing in Surrey. This state-of-art facility means that people will get the care that they need when it opens and for decades to come. And I really want to thank Minister Dix. It's always a great moment for all of us when Minister Dix and Premier are here to make these important announcements. Thank you so much.
You say the podium moves, don't be alarmed. It eventually stops, you know. It's thank you very much, Rachna, and thank you to all the MLAs who advocate so hard for the people of Surrey on healthcare every day. I know it well because they talk to me almost every day about it. Now it's a real honor for me to introduce the President and CEO of Fraser Health, which, other than the provincial government, is the largest organization in British Columbia. 40,000 employees providing services across the largest health region in our province. And we've been fortunate in this period where the people, particularly the people of Surrey, came together to provide excellent care and support from one another during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have been fortunate to have President and CEO who's not just a remarkable leader, but a public health doctor. How about that? It's almost like we planned it. And so it's a real honor for me to introduce Dr. Victoria Lee.
Okay, it's moving again. Good morning, everyone, and such a privilege to be here. Thank you so much to Minister Dix and Premier Eby for your support and leadership for us to actually celebrate this important milestone. I'll start by acknowledging that it's a wonderful day on the unceded, shared, and traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, in particular Kaitsi, Kwantlen, Coquitlam, Tsawwassen, and Semiahmoo First Nations, and also home to Surrey Delta Métis Association here. And since Minister Dix mentioned that I'm a public health doc, I also practiced as family doc for a while, but public health physicians tend to use numbers as our stethoscope. And one of the things that's really been striking about chronic kidney disease in the Fraser South region is that in the last 2 decades, it's grown by 300% in terms of new diseases, and it's because of the vulnerability and some of the populations that we see in Surrey and the growth in Surrey. And not all chronic kidney diseases require dialysis, but about 1,000 people in the whole of Fraser Health region do require dialysis services. And sometimes people have about 10% of kidney function, which means that you're not able to clear toxins in your body. And without those dialysis, of course, your lifespan can be shorter, but also I think what's also important to note is that dialysis treatment not only prolongs your life, but the joys of life. And we often hear from chronic disease patients that they don't want to be defined by their diseases. And sometimes when you have to visit the hospital for dialysis for 3 times a week, almost 12 hours a week, that can define your life. And I think what the expanded kidney services does is that it gives you more flexibility, more accessibility, and thereby ability to love and do the things that you love in life, whether it's gardening on a beautiful day like this or spending time with your loved ones. I think the other thing that's really important, and many of the clinical teams and leaders are here, with the chronic diseases like dialysis and kidney disease, there's a rapport and therapeutic relationship that develop between our care teams and with our patients. And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about that with Jackie. And what happens is that the care teams have been really wanting to see better experience for our patients, and adding these additional 21 beds to the 39 that we already have will certainly lead to better experience for our patients. Just for a figure, the dialysis unit right now conducts about 42,000 dialysis on an annual basis, and with the additional 21 beds, there'll be additional 23,000 dialysis that'll be done at this site. Again, much more flexibility, much more accessibility, much more time that our patients will be able to spend with their loved ones, and with the flexibility, doing things that they love. So I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the dedicated teams that have been working in collaboration with our regional teams and our partners to achieve this important milestone, and also, of course, to the provincial government, Premier, Minister, and all the MLAs that are here supporting our work, and our partnership with the foundation, Surrey Hospital Foundation, who are here with us today, and for their generous donors, as well as the important, I think, vision ahead that Minister and the Premier mentioned around. It's not just about additional specialty services that are being announced today, but it's also about additional services much broader with acute tower, new Surrey Hospital. There's community of care services from long-term care to urgent care that will actually ensure that we become a health services campus that will have innovation and quality at the center for the community that we serve here. And want to express my gratitude to the Surrey community for trusting us with your health needs every day. So thank you so much for being here for the announcement, and thank you to all.
So that was, thank you, Dr. Lee, that was excellent, but this is now, I'm gonna do a little hype for you here, Jackie, because I was talking to your hype guy who's at the back earlier, and he talked about some of the struggles you've had in terms of health. People should know that Jackie was telling me she's faced a couple of broken hips last while, and she gets renal services here, and she's a major volunteer in Surrey, and she's a major volunteer in Vancouver. And I have to say, it's an inspiration to everybody. So I'm really honored to have Jackie Sim here to say a few words. And this is someone who I think all of us can give a big hand to as she comes in. Jackie.
Well, good morning. I actually feel quite honored to be among such dignitaries. Sorry. And I'm excited to learn about the new renal building that's going up. I have been a renal patient for 4.5 years, and I currently attend at the Panorama Clinic, which is purely dedicated to renal care. Although, I do come across to Surrey every so often for some procedures that they don't perform there. Sorry. So I'm actually very familiar with the renal unit here as well, because I attended here for a year before I went to the clinic and got to know some of the nurses and the doctors and all the wonderful people that work here. So because of that, I hope to be in a situation to enjoy the new clinic when it comes into being. There's such a great need for renal care. I see it at Panorama. There's 21 beds and they are full every single day from start to finish. They have 3 sessions, 7 in the morning, noon, and 4 in the afternoon. And as you get out of the bed, it's cleaned and the next patient gets into it. So the fact that there's going to be 21 beds here, it's 60 patients that can be attended to per day. And that's huge. It's absolutely huge. So I think that's actually quite wonderful. And I attend 4 hours of dialysis 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with 2 days off at the weekend. So that's my free time. That's the time I spread my wings and enjoy whatever is going on. And a nurse pointed out to me recently, and it stuck with me, and I hope that most renal patients sort of feel the same way. For 4 hours attached to a machine, it allows me another 48 hours of life, because I then have the extra 2 days. So I sort of try and keep that in my mind. And there's days when I think, oh, do I really want to be there? Do I really want to do it? Yes, I do, because that's life-sustaining to me. And it's important to me. It's important to my family. It's important to my friends. So the fact that there's going to be a unit here that allows another 60 people to feel the same way and to feel this gratitude towards, oops, I keep doing that, don't I? Towards the staff. Both the staff here and the staff at Panorama are fantastic. They're so professional. They're so clued up as to what's going on and what a patient's needs are. I've been so grateful for the system and for these people, these individuals who care so much. And I hope that the new unit has people of the same ilk and same quality, of same caliber of character, because I think it's just beautiful. So thank you very much. I'm very glad to know that there's going to be another facility available for people like myself. I couldn't believe how many people actually have kidney problems. I think it's like 1 in 10. It's huge. It's huge. So I think of all the facilities that are growing, that's one of the most important. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and you're an inspiration to a lot of people as well. Thank you for all that you do in the community and the way that that you express yourself now describes why this is so important for us to do together and to provide this care together. And so, very proud of this announcement. We said we were moving forward on these projects. This project is. As noted, $86 million. It's going to be it's going to be in place for next year, and it is needed in the Surrey community. Renal care of all the levels of care is the one that came through in all of our analysis as the highest priority, but we're not stopping there. You know that we're making progress. We'll have more to say soon. I'll have updates to bring on the hundreds of new staff at this hospital, at the cardiac catheterization labs, at the repatriated ORs, at all the work that we're doing here at Surrey Memorial Hospital, in addition to the second hospital, in addition to the tower, in addition to the new medical school, in addition to the new long-term care beds that are coming to Surrey, in addition to all the work that's being done in the community here in Surrey to improve healthcare services for people. We've had, in the last number of years, record years of hiring here in Surrey and record years of new staff, new doctors, new nurses, new health sciences professionals, new healthcare workers across the system. And still, there is, of course, we're seeing the largest population increases the province has ever seen as well in this period, which puts demands and stresses every day on this hospital and other hospitals across BC. I want to finish by expressing my gratitude to everybody who works in healthcare in BC. We've added about 44,000 since I've been Minister of Health. It doesn't feel that way, but that's the net increase in the number of healthcare workers over the last, over the time that I've been Minister of Health. And we have to keep doing that. We have to keep adding people to our healthcare system in order to provide the care that people need and people deserve in our province. And with that, it's my honor. We're going to take media questions now, and I'm going to invite Premier Eby to come back to the podium.
Before we begin questions, I'll ask everyone on the phone line to please check their phones and make sure that they are on mute. Please stay on mute until you're called on, and when you are called on, you can come off mute so we can hear your question. Reporters are limited to one question and one follow-up, and we'll start here in the room. I'll ask reporters to please approach the microphone provided and state their name and outlet.
Hey, Premier, I can sort of see you through this little gap here. There's a lot of capital projects now in the province, and I'm just wondering, you know, we keep seeing escalating costs for a lot of these, so is there anything that you're able to bake into the contracts, or what are you trying to do so that you don't have, I recognize that there are some unpredictable factors, but I just wonder, is there anything that you can do, considering you're negotiating so many of these projects, to try to contain those costs, or try to predict some of that change, rather than, you know, a lot of taxpayers are getting sticker shock when they see how much these costs go up.
Sure, thanks, Penny. It's important to recognize the significant need that the province has around major capital projects, and it's across the spectrum. It's transit and transportation, the SkyTrain, the Surrey Langley SkyTrain project, for example. It's new schools for overcrowded classrooms and portables as our population grows so dramatically here in the province. And it's healthcare facilities like the new tower here at Surrey Memorial Hospital and the new hospital for Surrey, as well as today's announcement of this standalone renal facility. These are non-negotiable. British Columbians deserve, regardless of where they are in the province, access to high quality care. And there's no question in every British Columbian scene, if you're doing any kind of renovation project, you're looking to do something, costs have gone up. And that is not unique to British Columbia. That is a factor that we're seeing across North America. And so to address those costs, we're taking a number of steps. First of all, we're expanding training positions for those skilled trades that help us build these essential capital projects. Built into every one of these capital projects are apprenticeship spaces to ensure that we're using these public dollars to build these facilities, but at the same time we're training the next generation of workers who are going to help us do things faster and help keep some downward pressure on some of these costs. When we work with proponents that are bringing these proposals together, we stage projects so that they happen over time in sequence, which brings down the pressure of running multiple large projects at the same time. Contractors, because of the dramatic increase in the costs of things like structural steel and other inputs for these projects, are extremely reluctant to enter into fixed price contracts, which is what we did on the Broadway subway project, for example. And so we've had to enter into these new kinds of contracts where we're in a cooperative relationship with them to address costs and ensure we get value as we build forward. And if there are things that we can do to bring costs down in terms of the design of the facility, we're working on it together as the builder and as the end user through the health authorities and through the provincial government. So from training the staff, using public dollars to get more people ready to go, and working closely and collaboratively with the builders, we're working to keep these costs down. But there is absolutely no question. These projects are more expensive now than they were before. And the systematic neglect of our healthcare system, especially south of the Fraser, by previous governments when land was sold instead of the hospitals that were promised to be built, when there was an opportunity to build a second medical school that was turned down by John Rustad and Kevin Falcon, these things are more expensive to do now. The schools are more expensive to build now than they would have been had they been done earlier. We would still have demand, but not nearly what we have right now. And if Rustad and Falcon get elected in the next election, they did it before in terms of underfunding Surrey, deprioritizing healthcare, cutting healthcare funding in order to fund tax cuts for the top 2% of the wealthiest British Columbians. They will do it again. Their track record is clear. And so I hear them complaining that these projects are too expensive. Well, guess what? I hear that, and it's clear code for we will not build these projects. We will cancel projects because the budget commitments that they have made are not compatible with funding the healthcare system that British Columbians deserve in a time of rapid population growth.
Second question is related. I mean, we're looking at the same labor pool for a lot of these capital projects, but also the same people that would probably be building homes, whether it's people tiling the floors or the iron workers needed for high rises. So, I mean, you talked about retraining. Are you hoping that people who already live here would consider changing careers to help with this building boom? Because bringing in more people, clearly, you know, that's got its challenges. What do you see, what's kind of your vision for the labor pool that you're asking them to build extensions to hospitals, SkyTrain, homes? How do we make this work?
Well, there's no question that we're doing major capital builds that require sophisticated companies with thousands of employees to deliver. But housing doesn't have to be that. We have a process with municipalities around building housing in this province that has required people to be certified professionals, to be able to navigate the endless bureaucracy and public hearings and demands of multi-thousand page submissions in order to build housing, which means that only the largest developers have been able to build the housing that we need. There are lots of small home builders that are ready to build the homes that we need that don't have the capacity to navigate endless city processes and public hearings. So that's why starting this month, we put new rules in place to allow people to build more than one unit on a single family lot, to allow by right the construction of low-rise buildings close to transit where it's accessible. And by bringing this on faster, it will ensure more affordability, but it also expands the pool of builders that are able to build this housing. The second piece that we're doing, and it takes effect July 1st, is we're recognizing the credentials of internationally trained professionals. One of the big problems we've had in this province is we have lots of people coming from all over the world. They have expertise from all over the world, engineers, builders, doctors, nurses, lawyers, healthcare professionals, and yet they end up working jobs that are completely contrary to their entire experience because they meet these artificial barriers saying you're not allowed to practice your expertise here in British Columbia. We passed a new set of laws that require the professional colleges and the oversight bodies for these professions to have a clear and understandable path so that people can practice in the areas where they're expert to help us build this province. We're making it illegal to require British Columbia or Canadian experience in order to be able to work in these professions. Only one English test, not an English test every single year that adds cost and complexity to your journey. And so by bringing that simplification in and a clear path, we're going to get people off the sidelines to help us build this province, help us care for people, and turn our massive population growth into a significant benefit for the province, which we won't realize if we're forcing people into low-wage jobs that are inconsistent with their training.
Our next question is from Paul Gill, GKB Media.
Good morning, Premier. Premier, all these announcements, we hear these are good capital projects, and having lived in Surrey for the last 30 years, let me tell you, the people of Surrey don't care how much it costs. They want you to build it. Now, my question to the Health Minister and to the Premier is, more like the Health Minister, does he have a chart in his office on which he's written on what dates he's going to be doing the ribbon cutting on any of these projects or on these projects? People of Surrey want to know the ribbon cutting dates, not what you are doing or when it will be built. They want to know the exact date within a few months when the ribbons will be cut on these places.
Thanks, Mr. Gill, for the question. I share the impatience of the people of Surrey and the healthcare professionals working here who want these facilities to be open tomorrow. People of Surrey deserve these facilities to be open tomorrow. The need was clear, even under the previous government, for additional healthcare capacity here in Surrey. Since being sworn in as Premier, my focus has been on accelerating the shovels in the ground to get these projects done for the people of Surrey. Construction started on Surrey Memorial Hospital. Shovels will be in the ground on this new renal center in August. And because actually delivering these things is critically important to me. And that goes for us looking at different ways of delivering expansions to schools using pre-manufactured expansion for schools in Surrey and south of the Fraser so that those expansions can be open for the coming school year. We know that the need is urgent in Surrey, and so we're expediting that work. I'll turn it over to the Health Minister.
Well, Mr. Gill, I'd just say pretty clearly in this case, you were with me a year ago. We talked about the needs of renal patients in Surrey. We've put together our construction team. The pre-works are being done as we speak. Will be shovels in the ground in August, and it'll be ready for patients in 2025. So that's pretty clear, and you bet that's the case on every project. You know, and sometimes because we went really for a generation where important healthcare projects were not undertaken in Surrey. Like the previous government, Mr. Restad, Mr. Falcon, said no to a medical school in Surrey. So yes, there should be a medical school in Surrey right now with SFU. There isn't, because they decided against it. We're proceeding. It takes some time. We're getting it done. They decided, instead of building a second hospital, to sell the land for that hospital. So that delayed the project. Not only did they not build it, they delayed it, and they made it more difficult to do. And it's not just here in Surrey. I just say, with respect to Mr. Restad, in Fort St. James, which is an important community in BC, there's a hospital there that was a temporary modular hospital built in 1972. It was supposed to last 10 years. Mr. Restad was the MLA for that area for 16 years. He did not one thing to build that hospital. We're building it. It'll be open next year. It does take a while to build a hospital, but it's going to be open early next year. Final work's going to be completed this year, as is the case in Terrace. And we have 34 major capital projects right now in healthcare. And you bet we're driving to see all of them done as soon as possible, because the demands of people here in Surrey and everywhere else are significant.
Thanks, Premier. My second question related to, and certainly in response to it, I might say, you know, we don't want you to treat us like the previous government. We want to be treated better and faster for our treatments. My second question is related to Surrey's emergency department, the longest waiting time in the province. Does the Premier has any indication for the people of Surrey where he can go, or a timetable when it is that? Can you give us any indication? What dates do you have in mind to bring it down to average with the other hospitals?
Thanks, Mr. Gill. The urgency when you're critically ill or someone you love is critically ill to get the care that you need is the same here in Surrey as it is across the province. I asked the Health Minister to come out here and to sit down with the healthcare professionals here at Surrey Memorial and identify what we could do to speed up treatment time and to support healthcare professionals, especially in that kind of acute care emergency setting. He took those steps, they developed a plan, and I'll pass it over to the Health Minister to talk about what's been happening since then.
I think, Mr. Gill, I'd say what happens in the emergency rooms in some ways is a symptom of healthcare across the system, right? The decision not to build the PICS long-term care home for 15 years till I became Minister of Health affects that, because it means that people who are set to go to long-term care don't have space in long-term care. We're building that with PICS in that case. That doesn't sound like the emergency room. It's important to the emergency room. Because what happens in the emergency rooms, if there's not room on the wards, people get stuck in the emergency rooms. These issues are connected. Equally, primary care is important. It's why we worked with the doctors of BC to have in our first 9 months of our new payment model and the work we've done with the doctors of BC, 708 new longitudinal family doctors, not going to practice, practicing in BC. In terms of this facility, we posted new positions. 293 of them have been filled since I first reported on this last year. 293, not old positions, new positions filled, including significant investments in the emergency room. We're going to keep doing it. And we're going to follow and work with our healthcare leaders here in Surrey, the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers in the emergency room to see that happen. And I'll be reporting in detail on these shortly so that you'll see the progress we've made. And yes, there's a way to go. Emergency rooms in a province where you're seeing an increase in population. There's different ways to state this. The way I state it is we have 550,000 more people on MSP in 3 years. And that equivalent number 10 years ago, a 3-year number, was about 120,000. That's the largest increase in population we've seen. And our healthcare workers are delivering more emergency room visits, more surgery, more diagnostic care, more primary care visits than ever before. But it's why we have to invest in increased capacity, physical capacity, like this project today in renal care. We're going here from 39 to 60, which is an increase in tens of thousands of visits every year in this facility, why we've got to meet that demand by specific response and working with health professionals on ratios for nurses, which include emergency rooms, where we've worked with the BC Nurses Union on family practice doctors. And here at this hospital, we work with doctors. On health sciences, we worked with the Health Sciences Association and Health Sciences Professional, and we worked with the HEU to have the most successful program for developing healthcare workers in the history of the country, our HCAP program. So it requires investment in the hospital. We're making those investments, but it also requires investment in people, and that's what we're doing as well.
Going to the phone lines, our next question is from Richard Zussman, Global News. Richard, please come off mute.
We've worked with the health science. Yeah, and I'm just going to make one more plea to my colleagues. There's somebody on mute that's ruining the audio for everybody else on here that hasn't muted. So please, if you're listening, take a look and see that you're muted because it's ruining the audio for your colleagues. This is likely for Minister Dix, but Premier can take a crack at it to start if he'd like. What are the current numbers and projected numbers for outpatients at Surrey as a whole, and do these beds meet those needs? I'm just going to make one more statement to my colleagues. There's somebody on reservation loading the audio for everybody else on here.
Sorry, Richard, we can't make out what you're saying, man.
If I can ask all of the reporters currently on the phone line to please check their phones again to make sure that they're on mute. It is affecting the audio feed. One more time, I'm going to ask that everyone who is currently dialed into the phone line to please check their phones to make sure that they're on mute.
This one is for Minister Dix. The government and Providence Health are facing legal action by the parents of Sam O'Neill, who was denied MAID at St. Paul's. What action is the province taking to address concerns that any movement of a patient who's at the point where MAID is being considered causes unneeded suffering?
So thank you, Richard, for the question. Obviously, we're not going to comment on legal actions. We very much respect everyone's right to go to court and make their case there, and very much respect everyone involved in this process. MAID is a legal end-of-life choice in British Columbia. It's strictly regulated, but it's a legal end-of-life choice, and it's our job to ensure that people have access to MAID in our province. With respect, for example, to St. Paul's Hospital, we are offering adjacent to the hospital, essentially on-site. Vancouver Coastal Health will be, is organizing and building that. Hospice care, end-of-life care on that site in order to ensure that everyone has access on that site without going somewhere else to MAID. I might point out that frequently, and this is a fact as we work with people who work in this field, that frequently, no matter what hospital you're in, you do have to move within the hospital. We want people who are who have chosen MAID to have access, obviously, to private space for themselves and their families, so they would tend to move from multi-bed rooms to other parts of the hospital. That will be the case at St. Paul's. So we've specifically responded to the issue at St. Paul's in that way, with a focus on patients, to ensure that patients have access to the care and to the legal choice they have, which is for patients a very fundamental choice that they have in our province and in our country. And so you can see the specific actions that have been taken to address that issue. The issues that will be brought before the courts will be argued in courts, but I have everyone involved in these processes. I have just great compassion for. We've done a lot of work on these issues, including here in the Fraser Health Authority. You'll recall issues around end-of-life care in Delta that we worked on together, and we've continued to work to make sure that everyone who makes this decision, which is their decision, is able to do so in the most caring possible of ways.
Do you have a follow-up, Richard?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
We'll go next to Katie DeRosa, CBC.
Hi, if Premier and Minister Dix, further to the question on MAID, Dr. Jayaraman said there were 4 forced transfers in the last week from St. Paul. So forced transfers are still happening, even with the clinical space that will be set up. Hospices that are run by St. Paul's are still transferring. So is this situation good enough, and what will the province do to prevent anyone from being forced transferred when they're requesting MAID?
Thanks for the question, Penny. This is an incredibly and intensely personal and serious issues for families, for individuals who are terminally ill. And without a doubt, the compassion for these families, the care for these individuals is paramount in our government's considerations. And we're working closely with Providence Healthcare, we have been, to find a solution for the new St. Paul's Hospital to ensure that everybody's needs can be met. It's one of these issues for people when I think that British Columbians deserve a government that understands the intensity of the emotion around end-of-life decisions and the values of British Columbians as a whole. And I am concerned about what it means when we have political leadership in this province attempting to use these issues to drive wedges between British Columbians. I hope that on this issue, on the issue of women's reproductive health, on the issue of healthcare choices generally, we can stick together as a province and find solutions going forward. This family's choice to go to court, I respect 100%, to get clarity from the court about rights and obligations of the healthcare system to them and to all British Columbians. But for my part, as a political leader, I call on all of the leaders to work together on these issues to ensure that we're providing healthcare choice for people and that we're respecting the diversity of values in this province, and we're doing it in a way that doesn't divide our province.
Do you have a follow-up, Katie?
Yes, with respect, it's not political leadership who are using this issue. It is the family. It's a palliative care doctor. So can you address that? And secondly, as a follow-up, there's been indication that the Surrey homicide suspect may have been someone who was released on bail. What does this say about the directive issued in 2022? Is there still an issue with a disconnect between Crown prosecutors requesting detention and judges not granting that? So part of there.
Thanks, Katie. And the families and the people who have access to MAID, who have made that decision to end their lives in this way, have our government's full support around the care that they deserve to ensure that their wishes are carried out in a way that is respectful. And Katie, I will point out that there are some pretty clear distinctions between the political parties and some of the ideology that's already been coming forward from John Rustad's party about sensitive issues of healthcare access for British Columbians on issues like access to reproductive health, and I assure you, on access to the legal right to MAID in British Columbia. This is, in fact, a political leadership issue as well. Now, with respect to the issue of safe communities, it's so frustrating. We've seen a couple of very serious incidents where people have been involved in violent attacks on British Columbians, have been released from the justice system over the objections of prosecutors. We joined up with Ontario, actually, to go to Ottawa to ask for the bail rules to be changed to ensure that these kinds of releases of violent offenders back into the community while they're waiting for trial don't happen. And despite being successful, ultimately, after an extended period in getting the federal government to change those rules, despite providing the most explicit and strict directives to Crown Counsel around seeking detention in circumstances like this, we are still seeing release of people back into community, and they're causing harm. They're hurting people. We will continue to work with the federal government to ensure that the federal criminal code is responsive to what we're seeing in communities. For our part as a province, that's not all that we're doing. Where we are able to identify people that present a risk to community in this way, we've got a new program where police, social workers, Crown Counsel, and probation officers work together to track these individuals in community whenever they're released, and to ensure that when they're arrested, the court has the full set of information to detain people and ensure they're not presenting a risk to the community. We've seen some success on this. We've seen random stranger attacks come down 75% in the city of Vancouver, for example, following the implementation of this program. And we'll keep doing our part, and we'll look to the federal government to be responsive to decisions like this to figure out how it can be that people get released like this to cause this kind of harm and hurt to individuals and families in our province.
We have time for one more question. We'll go next to Rob Shaw, Check News.
Oh, hi, Premier. This is the second day in a row that you've made an announcement in kind of key election area, battleground sort of ridings, using public money and like half the time attacking your political opponents and promoting your local MLAs in that area. And I know you were asked this yesterday, but is it an appropriate use of government funds 17 weeks before an election to be doing this in front of like a government podium? And when Christy Clark did it, and she did do it, you were pretty vocally critical of that same thing. So I'm just wondering if you reflect on that.
Thanks, Rob, for the question. I've had a very brief period of time as the Premier of British Columbia, following in the footsteps of John Horgan. And not by choice, John had a serious cancer that he was dealing with, that his family was dealing with. And I was honored to step into his shoes. But when I stepped into his shoes, I saw some really serious issues that needed to be addressed quickly. Issues of housing affordability, issues of healthcare access, especially south of the Fraser, issues of safe communities. And the commitment that I made to British Columbians when I was sworn in was that I would make these issues priorities for our government, and we would work right up until the writ period on these issues, and we would not stop. I will not say to the people of Surrey that we could start construction on the renal centre in August, but we're actually going to push it to November so that we can announce it after the election, because that service is needed now. And I won't look at an opportunity like the purchase of the ICBC building to build housing for British Columbians and say, oh, they're selling it at the wrong time. Unfortunately, we can't buy it for housing. We'll have to sell it to a private developer so it becomes luxury condos, because unfortunately they're selling it during the 6-month period before the election. We will continue right up until the writ period on the priorities that I set out when I was sworn in, which include healthcare, cost of living and issues like housing, safe communities, and building a clean economy. And if British Columbians are unhappy with that, then absolutely, they can vote us out. But the contrast will be clear come the election about the path we're going on, and the perspective of John Rustad and Kevin Falcon that now is the time to cut back and not do these things and not support people. Our perspective is the exact opposite. The people need support now more than ever.
Do you have a follow-up, Rob?
Sure, thanks. Just to the ICBC issue, the value of that headquarters is assessed at more than $100 million. You could probably get more for it, I guess, if it was sold. The government gave ICBC $53 million. Is that not like ICBC policyholders basically subsidizing the housing plan there? Or why did the government not give ICBC like the full value of the property?
Thanks, Rob. I'm going to take you back to conversations we had about the sale of government land when I was in opposition, when land was sold below assessed value to major donors, to John Rustad and Kevin Falcon's party. Back when you could make $100,000 donations to a political party, and then you could see access to the fire sale of government properties, including the Surrey Hospital land and 21 other properties in Surrey, Burke Mountain, Little Mountain, I could go on. This is a sale of a property from the publicly owned Crown insurer to the government of British Columbia to build attainable middle-income housing and a transit hub that's going to serve British Columbians on the North Shore for generations. The contrast is the previous government was going to sell the ICBC headquarters to who knows who, for who knows what, well, we know what purpose, for luxury condos on the water, in order to cover up cost overruns at ICBC and massive deficits at our public insurer. The contrast, to my mind, is pretty clear. And the sale was based on assessments that were received by ICBC. The building has some major challenges, including asbestos. And even if we accept the premise of your question, Rob, that we could have sold it for more if the property was going to be used for luxury condos, the bottom line is for British Columbians that the value is realized by ensuring that people have the opportunity to live in the communities that they work in, and that they have a transit hub for the region that is successful and has the capacity to expand. It's a massive opportunity, and I'm very happy to run an election on that.
And that concludes today's event. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਟਰਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਅਨਫੋਰਚੂਨੇਟਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਆ ਸਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਈ ਨੰਬਰ ਆਫ ਬੈਡਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਦੈਟਸ ਦ ਬਿਗੇਸਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ we are over 2,000 beds behind. They don't have a full building permit for this project, and these are just announcements for the same thing over and over again with no results from this government, and it's been 7 years of this. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਲੋਵਰਡੇਲ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਆ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਹੋ ਗਏ 7 ਸਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਮਿਸ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ 2030 ਚ ਬਣੂਗਾ ਇਹ 168 ਬੈਡਸ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਟਿਲ 2,000 ਬੈਡਸ ਬਿਲੋ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੁਛ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੇਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਐਂਡ ਇਹ ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਨਾਊਂਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਇਜ਼ ਨੈਵਰ ਗੋਨਾ ਸੋਲਵ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਇਨ ਸਰੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਅਲ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ ਰੀਅਲ infrastructure ਚਾਹੀਦਾ and until ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੇਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ is just going to get bigger and bigger. It would be helpful, but I don't think that it solves the actual problem. Surrey Memorial Hospital, it's over 600 beds. In Vancouver, if you look at the numbers of beds, it's 3,000. We can't move the people fast enough. So even who doctors है, Vancouver भी doctor है, ये problem solve नहीं होनी. So ये excuses are जिरे आप 7 साल दे सुने हैं.